Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace. For your free trial and 10% off your order, enter TOT at checkout. Hey, what's going on, friends, family, and fellow tech lovers around the world? I'm Elric, coming at you guys in 4K. Thumbs up if you guys love pixels. Today, we'll be reviewing and taking a close look at the Sony Xperia Z2 tablet Verizon edition. Now, some people out there will call it the Z2, but here in America, we pronounce our Z's with the Z. So with that said, let's jump in and let's check out what this new tablet's all about. First and foremost, I know that most of my fans out there are PC enthusiasts, so with that said, let's check out what you guys love, the specs. Internally, the Z2 features a Snapdragon 801 quad-core processor. Now, this thing's clocked at 2.3 gigahertz, and for the GPU, it features an ADRENO 330. Now, as far as the RAM goes, it has 3 gigabytes, which is pretty good for something that's small and held in your hands, all things considering, and it also features for the OS KitKat 4.4.2. Now, as far as storage goes, it comes with 32 gigabytes on board, but if you're out there and you're a media junkie, this thing can have up to 128 gigabytes via the micro SD card slot. The battery in this thing is also pretty damn beefy. 6,000 milliamp hours. That's pretty beefy. My phone, I think, has got like 2,800, so this thing's got a lot of power. It has NFC, Bluetooth 4.0, obviously Wi-Fi, and like we said earlier, it also features Verizon's 4G LTE. To me, the screen is one of the absolute most important features of any tablet device, phone, or anything else, because for one thing, you got to be staring at this thing constantly. So its importance to me is something that should never be overlooked. Now, the Z2 features a 10.1 inch screen that features a resolution of 1920 by 1200. Now, although the pixel density isn't quite as much as the Nexus 10 or some of the iPad Retinas, watching movies and stuff at 1080p, this thing still looks amazing. Viewing angles are great thanks to its IPS display. One thing that sets the Z2 apart is its live color LED, which actually looks great. So what this does in layman's terms is it basically takes all of your colors, makes them as accurate as possible, makes all the color depth as real as possible, and makes everything really super vivid. So that way you're looking at it, it's like looking at something live. Sound on the Z2 to me is pretty damn good. Now, it's not like off the charts, like whoa, but compared to an iPad and a lot of the other things I've heard out there, when I'm watching a movie on this, the sound is very, very nice. It has almost kind of like that simulated surround sound, and so it's really good. You're looking down at your picture, and when you're hearing everything, the speakers are located right down the bottom, so it's really like a fully like immersing experience with the sound. A lot of the other stuff I listen to out there, it gets very tinny. This isn't like that whatsoever. Even when you've got the bass rumble, now obviously you're not gonna have like a subwoofer, but it balances out where you feel like you're immersed in the movie with your sound, which I think is pretty impressive on the Z2. Obviously, this thing's meant to take and travel around with you everywhere. So when you're taking something and traveling around with it, you don't want something that weighs a frickin' brick. This thing weighs 0.97 of a pound. Very, very light, and it's only a 1/4 inch thick. That's right, man, 0.25. So the thing's super duper thin, super duper light, so that way if you're lugging it around with you, it's not going to become a big hurdlesome thing like you're carrying around a big old brick. In that aspect of it, I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. And although this unit is very, very thin and lightweight, that does not mean that it's not durable. This little bad boy is waterproof, as seen by our Ice Bucket Challenge, and it's also dust and scratch resistant. And real quickly, going back to the Ice Bucket ALS Challenge, we were actually incorporating that into the testing of the Xperia Z2. And as you guys can see, even with a bucket of ice over my head, the Z2 came out licking and ticking. The Z2 also comes with 2 built-in cameras, and to be honest with you, I wasn't really all that impressed with how they worked, but that's a whole other thing. I'm not going to be taking a whole lot of pictures with this thing. But it does feature an 8.1 megapixel rear-facing camera and a 2.2 megapixel front-facing camera. Now, with that said though, let's jump in and let's check out how it does video and see what you folks think about that. What up? You watching the camera test, because at TOT we only bring the best. What you looking at? You looking at the Z2, I'm looking at me, and you're looking at you. So there you guys have it, folks. Now you guys can see the video quality isn't like, drop your hat outstanding, but still you have the convenience of having it with you whenever you have your Z2. So if you're out traveling around and you need a quick camera, all of a sudden, hey, you've got it right there at the tip of your fingers. And I don't really think that Sony's really pushing this for their camera abilities. I think they're more pushing it for its multimedia abilities and things like that. Now also some other things we didn't talk about. This thing, you can easily check your mail. It comes with actually some software for doing business, so you could do light business and everything traveling around with this. So if you actually don't want to use your laptop and you just want to have a tablet, the Z2 offers quite a bit of features for those type of people. And this device might fit your needs very well. Along the sides of everything, you guys can see that on one side, you have your power, your rocker buttons for your volume. Then on the other side, you have all your bays. Now here inside is where your USB chargers hid or your SDs hid. All the things are hidden behind these things. And if they weren't hidden, you wouldn't be able to have the ability to have all this waterproof stuff. Now, when we did the ice bucket challenge, if any of these things were open, obviously they would take a chance of it getting wet and ruining the device. But the way that it's made, this thing is completely waterproof. Now, battery life, which I know a lot of people out there is going to be, whoa, very, very important stuff. Now, for me, when I was using this thing constantly, watching light movies, checking my email, 2.5 days of battery life, and standby has been incredible. I've had this thing just sitting for the last 7 days and it's still at 74% of its battery charge. So that's actually a pretty incredible feature of the Z2. Another question I know all of you people out there are going to be asking, what are the LTE speeds? Well, in my neighborhood, things aren't that great. They're not abysmal, but I get basically 7 up, 8 down. Which, that's just kind of moderate. Now, I've seen other speeds at 30 and 30 in other locations. So for those people, you're getting a really grand experience. My house has never really been known that great to work really well with Verizon in any case. So don't let that be a factor for your decision, because in your area, you might get great connectivity speeds. Now, me personally, I'm not that big of a tablet gamer, but due to the ADRENO 330 and the fact that the games are played at 1080p, this thing can play them without any problem at all, and they do look pretty good. You guys can see we bounced through Asphalt 8. This is a very popular game. In fact, I play it all the time on other things, and this is something that a lot of people are going to be playing, so I think it's a good representation of what games do. Now, one drawback about the unit, and I don't really know if this will affect that many people, but there are less apps than there are on an Apple type device. But if you're not an Apple fan anyways, I don't see you buying an iPad. And with as far as the Google Play stores come, I don't really think that's going to be that big of a deal to a lot of users. Now that about wraps up today's video, folks, but before I bounce on out of here, I want to give a special shout out to the people over at Squarespace for making today's video possible. Now, I know that many of my fans out there love to rock out just as much as we do here on Tech of Tomorrow. Now, we use Squarespace to make our music website, so if you guys are into that, check out www.techoftomorrowmusic.com. Squarespace features customizable templates, drag and drop interfaces, 24/7 customer service, and it's extremely simple to set up your own online store. Right now, you guys can try this shiznick out for free. And if you like it, you can even get an additional 10% off by entering TOT at the checkout. And something even totally cooler. Now check this out. If you guys use the trial period and develop your website, you guys can turn that in. And if they like it over at Squarespace, you guys can get your web hosting for up to a year totally free. And the way you do this is by tweeting us with your website with the hashtag SquarespaceTOT. All right, folks, that's it. Thanks very much for watching Tech of Tomorrow. Like usual, all the information will be down in the description below the like button, which hopefully you will hit and like and appreciate this video. If you like what you see and you'd like to be subscribed, then hey, you know what to do. Hit that sub button and my pretty face will be in your inbox. And that's about it, folks. Love you. See you guys back here on the channel.